okay, I really want this video to be unedited. So in transparency, this is my second take and my last take. But I'm going to do everybody's favorite thing, and it's make a video about a video that was made about another video. So the original video 9 years ago called When Is Enough Enough by a YouTuber I don't know was then, now there's another video called When Is Enough Enough by Noble Records, Dylan and Noble Records, that annoyed me to no end. And I should say that I'm sure in his personal life, Dylan's a great guy. He seems like a great guy, stand-up dude. And I have learned a lot from his channel, and I did really love his channel at one point, and it helped me discover a lot of music, and it helped me feel okay about not being able to only afford original pressings and blah, 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 blah. But that is not the channel that he runs anymore. It's changed a lot, and I don't think it's quite as good as it used to be, and I think it's it's gotten more pretentious than maybe he set out at the beginning, and that's, I don't fault him for it. So I want to say that I do have respect for Dylan and his channel before I go in on why I think this video is so annoying and so bad for what we do, and what we do being collect records. So let's just get straight into it. And I'm going to say, first off, to answer the question, when is enough, I want to redirect the topic of that question to when is there enough vinyl YouTube content? I'm kind of tired of it. And I realize that's ironic coming from someone who's currently making a YouTube video about vinyl records. But even though it does seem lost on some people that stumble upon this channel, I think it's fairly obvious that the reason that we have a channel is to engage directly with our community, especially, not everyone has every social media app. Not everyone is living on social media, but, we can link a YouTube video in a newsletter to tell people, hey, we just got this big collection of psych records in, which we did last week. Or, hey, we just got this big collection of 45s in, which we did a couple weeks ago, and that video is coming later. And that's why you don't see us being super consistent, because that's not really what it's about for me or for us here at the store. And, if you want a successful YouTube channel, you have to do one thing, and it's post consistently. And I think that leads to a lot of people trying to think of stuff to talk about and making bad content versus talking about things that they actually want to talk about. And I think that's most of vinyl YouTube at this point, is people are just like, okay, shit, now what do I talk about? I got to think of something. And so we're dissecting ultrasonic cleaning machines, and we're talking about just the most ridiculous, tedious crap. But when is enough? Just to start out that question, at one point Dylan says, you're not a real record collector if you're just doing it for the thrill of the hunt, which I disagree with. You're definitely a record collector if you do it for the thrill of a hunt. What you're not is a music collector. There are two different types of people that buy records, record collectors and music collectors. I think Dylan has become a record collector, and I think that's the bad one. I think music collecting is the most pure reason to buy records. But then, 6 or so minutes in, which is about where I lost my patience with this video and would have turned it off had I not already decided to make a video about it, is he says, I do it for the thrill of the hunt. So he directly contradicts himself, which is immensely frustrating to me, but I get it was a stream of thought video, whatever. I'm not going to knock him too much for it. But ultimately, at the end of the day, here's what my video is about. My video is about why we collect records, and I think the kind of best that record collecting gets, the best that it can be. I get buying stuff for an investment if that's, your bag or whatever. I don't like it as much. I don't like grading records, for instance, but there's so many reasons to do it, and I think you're valid for whatever it is that floats your boat. And God, I could go on forever about the pretentious record store clerk cliche and all that kind of stuff. And it should just be noted that if you walk into our shop and you say you have a Crosley, I'm going to say sick. I'm glad that you're interested in buying records. If you ask me for advice on how to get better sound, then I'll tell you not a Crosley. But you're not going to get shamed for it. You're not going to get shamed for the music that you like, unless you try to push it on me. But if you're doing something that makes you happy and it doesn't hurt anybody, then that's all that matters. But to me, the platonic form of record collecting, and when we're at our best, is when we are collecting records to develop a greater appreciation for something that we already like, or discover and develop an appreciation for something that we were unfamiliar with before. That's why record stores are so great. You walk into a record store and it is a reflection of the staff and the ownership of people that work there. And you can tell a good record store from a bad one very easily because of this. A bad record store probably only has what's on the radio and top 40 new sealed stuff. There's no interest in digging deeper. There's no interest in buying collections from the community and recirculating those records. None of that kind of stuff. And ultimately, going into a record store, finding something that you didn't know about before, whether you get it recommended or you just see the cover and think like, this is dope, I really want to give this a go. That's the best that this gets. That's the best it can be, because it connects us to our past, it connects us to our geography, it connects us to other people, the people at the store, the people you're browsing with that maybe say like, oh, like you like that Black Sabbath record, check out this Mephistopheles record. They're a band from Argentina that sounds a lot like Black Sabbath, but new and fresh, and maybe not fresh, but you haven't heard it before. Check it out. Like, you know, that's the best that this gets. You know, and I think if you're just doing it to say that you have every record that you could have ever wanted, like Dylan says in his video, which is just like, don't say that. Like, it's never going to come off positively. And that every record you have is the mintiest version of it. And or maybe you only collect promos, or maybe you only I approached a DJ at a bar a couple months ago who was playing one of my favorite Boogie records. And I was like, oh my God, like this is sick. Like, is this a reissue? And he looked at me and he goes, no, I only play original pressings. Okay, dude. What? Like, I don't care. Like, I have a reissue of this record and I play it when I DJ all the time, and it hits. It's great. It's something that a lot of people haven't heard of, but that a lot of people respond to. And then you know, I don't give a shit that you're only playing original pressings. I don't give a shit that you don't like compilations. Compilations are great. It introduces people to new stuff. Like, that's what all this should be about. Like, to me, the greatest moments of my time running the store or collecting records is buying a collection that's full of South Texas based bands, or, you know, whether it's original or reissues or whatever, and being able to show somebody, hey, like, you remember that one song that Kanye sampled with Kid Cudi? Not to invoke Kanye, I hate to do that, but the Royal Jesters from San Antonio did that song. Have you heard the original? Like, or, you know, you like De La Soul? Well, that drum break comes from the Turtles, who did Happy Together. You remember Happy Together? Okay, well, the funky drum break from the hip hop joint you love is a Turtles break. You know, like, there's just so many connections between old music and new music, between communities, between different types of people, you know, that like this, but also surprisingly they like that. And, like, you know, for me personally, collecting records, owning the shop, being a record purveyor as a living for the past 10 years has changed my musical taste so much. Like, when I first started, I was really just collecting like punk and hardcore records, ska records, reggae records, some hip hop stuff. You know, I've always liked hip hop, but it wasn't the focus. You know, I didn't have a ton of that in my collection at first, but now I've learned about Chicano soul and the rich musical history of South Texas, whether it's in English or in Spanish, whether it's conjunto or, you know, whether it's sweet soul, oldies type stuff. I've learned so much about post-disco, boogie funk. I rediscovered that Black Sabbath's the greatest band of all time by not just listening to the singles and listening to the entire albums. That's like one of the great benefits of the LP format, is that you listen to the whole thing. The album cuts everything. All of that stuff is what makes this so great. And, you know, sometimes I'm almost proud that I don't know the names of songs, because I just listen to the full records. I should know the names of the songs, but like, I put it on and I listen to the whole thing while I'm working or while I'm doing whatever, and then those songs start to embed in my brain, and the whole album embeds in my brain. You know, it's not just singles, and you know, it's full, complete pieces of art, and that, I think, is the best that this hobby can be. And I think by focusing on, do you have enough? Or, I mean, really, I'm never going to have enough. I think there's such a thing as having too many records, but I haven't even scratched the surface of all of the recorded music that exists in the world. And I know that for the rest of my life that, you know, I'm going to be discovering new things because I'm going into dirty thrift shops. I'm going into secondhand stores. I'm going into well-curated record stores. And I'm going to find things that I didn't know existed before. I'm going to go see DJs that play vinyl, and I'm going to discover new stuff every week, every year for the rest of my life. And that's what makes records so great, is that they're these tangible things that you can discover devoid of an algorithm, devoid of a recommendation. I mean, we're talking about purely chance encounters here in a world where chance encounters are becoming less and less frequent. You know, we're meeting people on apps. The algorithm is feeding us ads for new products or for new bands or for certain films or whatever. And record collecting is one of the last pure forms of discovery that is available to us in the modern digital age. And it's not about what you have. It's not about how much you have. It's about how curious you are. It's about how engaged you are. It's about your perspective. It's about so much more than just like, look at how many records I have. Look at how impressive this shelf looks behind me in my YouTube videos, which obviously I'm not talking about me because this is just USB cables, but I get more and more annoyed with vinyl YouTube every time I see a video. And I really, honestly, I try not to watch a lot of it because of this, because it just kind of like really gets me worked up and like kind of upset that, you know, this is how people are discovering the hobby. This is, you know, ultimately at the end of the day, record collecting should be done in person. It should be done face to face. And I get that it's not always going to be. Some records are hard to find, but you can find them online. Or maybe somebody recommends you a record like in the shop and you try to buy it from me and I'm just like, sorry, this is my original pressing of Morgan, self-titled 1968 or whatever year it came out, Great Psych record. I'm not willing to part with the original, but you can go find it online. You can find really good reissues. Whatever, this video's already gone on so long. And I'm sorry for the rambling. Maybe I'll try to clip it in like shorts or whatever to just get the gist of what I'm talking about. But yeah, the video really kind of rubbed me the wrong way and felt very, look at all my shit. If you've seen Spring Breakers, James Franco says that. Also, why am I invoking all the most problematic people? I don't know. But yeah, it's just... it shouldn't be about quantity. It shouldn't be about I know more than you. It shouldn't be about I can get anything that I want and you can't. I know he doesn't say that, but like that's how it comes across. It should be about, do you genuinely have fun doing this? Is there a real motivation for you that makes your life better? That's all it should be about. My life is a lot better because I collect records, because I discover stuff. I discover Midas Touch by Midnight Star. Or is it by Midnight Star? This is where the edit is. Sorry about that. It was by Midnight Star. I shouldn't have doubted myself. That's how I discovered a lot of music. That's how I discovered the San Antonio boogie group Horizon. That's how I discovered Sky. Call me if you need someone to talk to. Here's to you. Just so many great records that I found because they came in like a big stack of 45s, or I saw the label and thought, this is cool. Maybe I'll check it out at the listening station at this record store. Anyway, going on and on. That's it. We're done. That's the whole thing.